Alright everyone, it's time to talk about the mythology of Trump being too chaotic and toxic. He shouldn't run in 2024. Also the age issue being brought up. I predicted this months ago. There's a reason why the Democrats started tentatively bringing it up, and it ain't just to try to force Joe Biden not to run because he can't win re-election. I told you they would bring it up. It would be used against Trump. You see that now. Elon Musk even bringing that up, which is hilarious. And totally coincidental, organic, and not astroturfed in nature, by the way. And to cockblock Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders as well. But it's an astroturf, and it's false. Trump is not a toxic candidate. Effectively, what you're trying to do is convince people, well, Trump won't be allowed to win. MAGA is over. That's too chaotic. It's just too out there. Let's have a sensible rebels alternative. Ron Desantis or something like that. Let's have the sensible rebellion. CNN has told me that I'm a bad person for supporting Make America Great Again. It's too out there. Oh my God, insurrection and all this other fucking horse shit. But you're still allowed to rebel. CNN tells you that it's okay that the dude that they called Adolf Hitler for the better part of a year should be the Republican candidate. That's acceptable. We won't dogpile him during the general. That's number one. It's totally organic, number two, even though he has literally never even alluded to wanting to run in the first place. We don't even know if he has presidential ambitions, to be quite clear. And we might allow you to go through with it. As long as it's not Trump, anyone but Trump, not the insurrectionist, not the evil orange man. It comports, again, this is analysis that I've done before, it comports too closely with the propagandistic lie and the propagandistic line. The real extremism, the real toxicity is the fact that a sitting president of the United States was banned off of numerous big tech platforms over bullshit. Over something that we can actually disprove. The J6 committee the other day accidentally posting up text messages involving Mike Lindell of all people that show that actually the march to the Capitol, to that particular location, had been planned and was coordinated, but not for insurrectionist purposes. There was going to be another rally. Oh, that's intriguing. So in other words, the claims of Trump and of people like myself for the last 2 years almost have been completely correct. And the committee's a pile of bullshit. And Liz Cheney, one of its star prosecutors, if you can call her that, is going to lose her job come August. She'll be a lame duck at that point. Although she'll still linger on through the election, but she won't be the nominee. Trump is not toxic. This is essentially the equivalent, in my opinion, of sort of the sundowner Obama logic. I spoke about this years ago. The Obama neoliberal globalist idea is that the United States needs to take a deep breath, bow its head solemnly, slightly smile, and say, we had such a good run. We did so many good things. Now is the time, though, to step back, bow our heads in solemn praise for what our forefathers did. We can't do those things anymore, though. It's racist or evil or something. We can't be truly great anymore. That's an evil imperialistic canard. Let's take a step back and just be one of a number of good nations. Let's not try to be great, because that's passé. That's so last century. It's the same fucking horseshit. It's the idea of people who supported populism, who support the idea of reforming the United States to be great, of restoring our republic, taking a step back and going with the sensible alternative instead. No, that's too much reform. Even though half of you people don't like Trump because he didn't accomplish enough, even though it was because of obstruction in some cases by his own fucking House of Representatives. No, it's solely his fault, and he's too old and toxic. By the way, I do, methinks, remember over the last few months warning you that the age question would be aimed at Trump. Did I not point that out 5 or 6 fucking times? What do you see right now if you go across the internet in the wake of him having a dust-up with Elon Musk or the Trump-Desantis query, which I think is an astroturf too, to be honest at this point. Oh, Trump's just too old. No, he's too toxic. Half of these people aren't even organic posters. It's an astroturf. It's a linguistic attempt. Biden gets dragged because he's got cognitive decline. Nobody cares about the age itself. They care about the fact that he's demented, he's fallen over, he's getting injured constantly, he's doing insane weird shit and forgetting where he is. He's got Alzheimer's disease. I've seen not one indicator that Trump has anything other than a bizarre way of framing his words and statements, something that he has literally had his entire fucking adult life. Look back at interviews from the 2000s, by the way, if you don't believe me, back when he was at the spring chicken age of his mid-50s. He's always had the same cant, the same verbal proclivities. Biden, totally different. Supposedly he just suffers from a stutter, but over the last couple of years, hasn't it gotten demonstrably a hell of a lot worse? It's almost like there's something else wrong, which causes him to fall up the stairs 3 or 4 fucking times since he was elected to his position. The AstroTurf is this. You should give up on MAGA. It's not palatable to independent voters. And fucking check the polls. I'll be debunking some of this separately here in a moment. It's not palatable enough to them. It'll cause higher Dem turnout. Can I please ask you a question? Let's say that Ron Desantis is AstroTurfed in as the Republicans' primary winner and goes on to the general election. Is the same thing not going to absolutely happen? Unless he is a total AstroTurf, literally planted by the establishment, they will dogpile him just the same. They've done this to every Republican candidate for decades. It doesn't matter. They did this to lukewarm goddamn neocon Bush. They did it to Romney. Geraldo Rivera now thinks that Romney and Paul Ryan should run on a ticket, because he's got Trump derangement syndrome too, while waffling back and forth and saying there's nothing actionable from the J6 committee. So he did nothing wrong, but still, you should fucking retire. Elon Musk saying basically the same thing. He should ride off into the sunset, according to Elon Musk. Why do I get the feeling that that's a little bit of a grift too? I think that has to do with popularizing his position against Twitter for legal purposes. I'll get into that maybe on my live stream this afternoon. And the fact is this. Number one, Donald Trump has the highest in-party approval of any Republican president ever in polling history. It's higher than Reagan. It's higher than anyone else. The single highest. If he chooses to run in the primaries, he wins. That is the long and short of it. There is nobody capable of stopping him. Desantis has stalled out around 20-25 points in a primary matchup, and it doesn't even matter whether there's more candidates or not. Of course, if there's a primary system, other people might jump aboard as well. Mike Pence could show up. Tulsi Gabbard could switch parties and show up. That would just dilute the anti-Trump vote further. Trump's above 50% in virtually every single poll. So the in-party support and the support for a primary, assuming you even have primaries, that's all unidirectional in favor of Trump. Number two, most of Trump's failings that didn't have to do with hiring neocons, which was clearly an attempt to extend an olive branch to the establishment, it didn't work so well. Other than that, most of the other failings of the administration were legislative. Yeah, when the House refuses to actually fund your border wall, and so you have to wait till the very dusk of your term to begin building, no shit, the border didn't get fortified completely. He still did better than expected considering how long it took. No shit, when people like Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell, and even at one point Rand Paul, fail to get through anything passable for ACA reform, you have to say, well, then fuck it. I'll just declare that the mandate itself, the 2.5% tax on the poor that Obama championed, that goes the way of the dinosaur. So I'll just defang that, and then the rest of the ACA, there's nothing I can do about it. It's very funny as well. Trump is deemed an imperial president, threat to the republic because he's trying to stage a coup. He was one of the least goddamn imperialistic presidents that we've had in modern history. Trump actually stayed within his constitutional bounds. Sometimes I wish he had gone a little bit further, especially in regards to the tech censorship issue. And there's the other thing. Think of the outcome if Trump does win. And there's no guarantee that happens in a general election. Fortification aside, he could potentially lose, although against Creepy Joe, I think that he'd have about a 99% chance of winning in a landslide at this point. Just saying, the economy, stupid. Think of the various benefits. We could get more tax reform. And no, it wasn't an ingratiation tax to the billionaires. No, I saved thousands of dollars under the Trump tax code. And I'm not rich. Wish I was as rich as the Democrats think all of Trump's fans are. They either think of them as being extremely rich, which is really projection, or as toothless rubes with no shoes. They have 12 kids, and they have 2 pairs of shoes. They have to wear them in shifts. Tax reform, probably a continuation of the border defense system. No new wars. That would be nice, considering what's happening right now in Eastern Europe, potentially in Taiwan, Korea, etc., and elsewhere. It would be nice to have someone who has actually balanced a budget before, back in the executive branch, as opposed to Biden, who has never done an honest day's work and is heavily inbred and a pedophile and all of these other things. And yes, at this point, that seems to be corroborated more or less. So we're not even going to use the term alleged at this point, because fuck Joe Biden and his whole inbred trailer trash family, basically. It couldn't be more stark. It's night and goddamn day. We know the kind of things that Trump is into. I'm perfectly comfortable with them. Now think about the Astroturfed Johnny-come-latelys that could potentially run. Do you fucking know what they're gonna do? No. Some of them have barely any political experience. I like what Ron Desantis has done, for example, as the governor of Florida. Why wouldn't the people of Florida want him to stay on as governor longer? They're talking about fucking Glenn Youngkin. Why? Glenn Youngkin only won because his opponent imploded. It would be goddamn insane to run him in a general election against the Democrats in 24. It would be nuts. There's no purpose to it. He'd lose. That was another prediction, by the way. If Youngkin becomes the Republican nominee, and I don't think that he's actually planning to run, I think that's just, babble at this point. I don't think he would win. Maybe not even against Joe Biden. That's a whole fucking problem. He's best known as being anti-CRT, and his opponent had a meltdown moment and said that parents shouldn't be involved in their kids' education. I wonder why he ended up losing that one against Glenn Youngkin. Youngkin was behind by 5 to 7 points in the aggregate, by the way, just prior to the election until that magical moment happened. The Republicans really snatched victory from the jaws of defeat with that one. And that's the truth. A lot of this is just black-pilled shilling and astroturfing. The fact is that the smart money's on Trump. DeSantis is fundamentally a meme. If he does become nominee, it'll be because Trump decides to sit it out or croaks before he's capable of mounting a campaign. And if DeSantis is the candidate, that's okay. I can consider voting for him. I'd prefer Rand Paul at that point. But I will vote for Trump if he is the nominee. I speculate that he will run. I speculate that he will win if he does run. And all of this shilling aside is basically just feeding into the CNN line. CNN told me I'm not allowed to support Trump because he's just too chaotic and toxic. I support the more erudite alternative, a little bit less rebellious, less mean tweets. No, fuck it. I want the mean tweets back. Number one, because it's funny. Number two, because it's fun to see all the globalists squirm. They deserve to have mean tweets made at them. I think it's a good thing, not a bad thing. That's about all. Peace out.